Hello everyone, today is 14th of August, now it's 20 to 1, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, although I will start with the updates, short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield, because while focus of entire world is of course on the Kursk region of the Russian Federation because of the invasion of Kiev regime forces. Russian troops continue to increase pressure on Kiev regime's defense lines on the line of contact on the front line, and as a result we are receiving reports about further progress of Russian troops on the northern part of Chisov Yar, and also Russian troops are advancing on Avdiivka sector of the front line, which is lately being called Pokrovsk sector by many, and reports are coming in that Russian troops establish control over the Sviridovka settlement, this area here on the northern flank of Pokrovsk sector, and also reports are coming in that Russian troops establish control over the Zhelane settlement, this relatively large village. And if we zoom out, as you can see, forward units of Russian troops are getting closer and closer to Pokrovsk itself, which is not just a main logistical hub of Kiev regime on the front line, but also, and many experts are not really highlighting this point, that Pokrovsk and surrounding areas have a huge importance for Kiev regime because of the coal mining. This area is a main source of income for Kiev regime and main source of coal for energy generation that Kiev regime has. And once Russian troops will establish control over the Pokrovsk and surrounding areas, from coal exporter, Kiev regime will turn into coal importer, which of course, which is significant. I don't know why, but many channels on YouTube or Telegram and many experts are not really paying much attention to this point, that Pokrovsk is has extreme importance for Kiev regime, not just in terms of military operations, but also in terms of economy, because of this coal industry that is located there. So yes, Russian troops not just slow down advances or pressure, not just decrease pressure on Kiev regime's defense lines on the line of contact, but exactly opposite is happening, as the Russian president pointed out just a couple of days ago, when he said that if Zelensky and his Western masters were hoping that by after invasion of the Kursk region, Russian troops will be redeployed from front lines towards Kursk and pressure will decrease on Kiev regime's defense lines, that was a mistake, and exactly opposite is happening, which is factual. But anyways, let's continue with some other news. And I spoke about this information, for example, yesterday during the live stream, but topic is very important, I believe, and I will share this information now also, that according to head of Russia's radiation, chemical and biological defense forces, Igor Kirillov, Ukraine has most likely already created a dirty bomb. If some members of our community are not familiar with this terminology, dirty bomb, I will explain that this is an explosive device that is packed with the radioactive materials. And as a result of explosion of this dirty bomb, significant areas may be contaminated with radioactive hazardous materials, basically. And high-ranking Russian official from Defense Ministry is stating that Kiev regime most likely has this device, this dirty bomb, probably not a single one, number of these dirty bombs, which is definitely once again highlights that Kiev regime is acting as a terrorist regime. It is a terrorist regime, and it poses a terrorist threat, nuclear threat, not just for Russia, but also for its own citizens, for citizens of Ukraine, and for Europe. and even entire world, because nuclear threat cannot be underestimated. And Kirillov also highlighted that according to him, Kyiv regime is already using certain toxic substances on the line of contact. There were several instances of that, and according to him, those toxic substances were created in United States, synthesized in United States, because other countries from collective West have no industry that are designed for such purposes. And I guess by saying so, Russian Defense Ministry is pointing at US, that US was involved in creation of the dirty bomb for the Kyiv regime. That's my understanding of these statements, and probably it is the case. And Ukraine's dirty bomb was created with cooperation with the US administration and US secret services and militaries. Of course, this is a red line that cannot be ignored by Moscow, and I expect some very decisive actions to be taken to neutralize nuclear threat that is being generated by Kyiv regime and the NATO that is waging this proxy war against Russia. And we have also this information, by the way, which once again highlights nuclear threat that is generated by Kyiv regime, because according to head of Akhmat Special Forces, Abdi Alaudinov, Russian side has now information about plans that Kyiv regime and NATO, basically. I am adding NATO because this is a clearly NATO operation, by the way. This is not just a Kyiv regime's operation. So according to Abdi Alaudinov, plans that Kyiv regime had during the invasion of the Kursk region included reaching Kurchatov city for 11th of August, and Kurchatov is important because Kursk nuclear power plant is located there. In the previous updates, I also highlighted possibility that one of the main tasks for invading Ukrainian forces is to reach Kurchatov city and establish control over the Kursk nuclear power plant. And now high-ranking Russian official from Defense Ministry, Major General Abdi Alaudinov, is also saying that yes, Kyiv regime had plans to reach Kurchatov city for 11th of August. Obviously, Kyiv regime and NATO failed to achieve this goal. Russian troops not just slowed down progress of invading troops of Kyiv regime, but basically now Russian troops are advancing to neutralize these terrorists that NATO sent into Kursk region. But information itself definitely is important and highlights how dangerous Kyiv regime really is, and the collective West, by the way, Western ruling class, that they are posing nuclear threat for the whole of humanity. And in addition, of course, many members of our community see those videos, and I share those videos also in my updates on my Telegram, when Kyiv regime targeted cooling infrastructure on Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, and as a result of Kyiv regime's direct strikes on ZMPP, one of their cooling stations were basically on fire. And I believe IAEA experts twice visited that area. If you remember, initially Kyiv regime was talking about that Russian side brings some tires and set tires on fire, that kind of crap. And unfortunately, dear friends, many people in the West especially, believe in that nonsense. Can you imagine that? But that's the influence of propaganda of the West. And well, now IAEA experts have been twice, I believe, on that in that area, and taking in account that IAEA basically is controlled by CIA. It's formally it's a UN institution, but in reality it's controlled, of course, by Western ruling class. What do you think? What they will say, those experts from IAEA, if tires were set on fire? Would they hide that? Of course not, they will say it straight away, but it's such a nonsense, by the way, such a nonsense that I cannot even imagine how anybody could believe in that crap, but many people did. And I even see comments of, I guess, some trolls, or maybe those people were really believing in that Russian side set their tires on fire on cooling station. I mean, how crazy is that, man? So yet again, it is more and more clear for everybody that are well informed that Kiev regime is definitely terrorist regime and poses a significant threat for everybody, basically, including nuclear threat. And we have this report from RT that official representative of Russian Foreign Ministry, Maria Zakharova, is basically calling UN to recognize Ukrainian terrorism in the Kursk region. Let's go through this news. United Nations must recognize the Ukrainian incursion into the Russia's Kursk region as a blatant act of terrorism. Moscow's Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova had said. She also expressed hope that the international body would fully assess the destruction caused by Kiev's forces on Russian territory. Well, I can understand the statement of Zakharova that Moscow wants UN to recognize incursion into Kursk region as a terrorism because they are acting as a terrorists. There are so many video confirmations when Kiev regime's troops are indiscriminately shelling civilians, opening fire on civilians that were trying to escape from area. So they're clearly acting as terrorists, no doubts about that. But I will just point out one topic. Okay, Moscow is asking UN to recognize actions of the Kiev regime in the Kursk region as terrorism, which is understandable, but I wonder why Moscow itself is not designating Kiev regime's defense ministry, Kiev regime's main intelligence directorate, Kiev regime's SBU, secret service, as a terrorist organizations. I just don't really understand. I mean, you are calling UN to recognize terrorism of the Kiev regime, while you yourself are not designating them as terrorists. Certain figures in the leadership of main intelligence directorate or SBU are designated by Russian side as terrorists, including head of main intelligence directorate Kirill Budanov. But why entire this so-called institution is not declared as a terrorist organization? Why Ukraine's defense ministry is not declared as a terrorist organization? Why SBU is not declared as a terrorist organization? Or Kiev regime itself? I don't know. I mean, I'm losing logic behind this approach when you are asking some international body to recognize terrorist activity of the Kiev regime, and you yourself are not doing so. Because just the words, well, she's saying that UN must recognize Ukrainian terrorism. And I understand that. But make it official. Designate Kiev regime's so-called institutions as terrorist organizations. It will make easier for Russian special forces, for Russian security services, Russian defense ministry to deal with those terrorists. So maybe I don't understand something, by the way, but I'm truly don't understand this approach. I mean, I don't know. One may argue that, you know what, Moscow is not designating them as terrorists because someone has to sign capitulation and so on. But in that case, how you are asking other bodies then to recognize them as terrorists? I don't know. Anyways, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that Abti Alaudin, head of Akhmat Special Forces, also stated that majority of armored vehicles, military vehicles that Kiev regime brought into Kursk region during this incursion had been already destroyed, which is of course important news. I shared so many videos on my Telegram, for example, and other channels are also sharing quite a number of these videos of destruction of armored groups of Kyiv regime in the Kursk region. So I'm not at all surprised if majority of Kyiv regime's armored vehicles, military vehicles, been destroyed. TASS news agency is also reporting that, well, this is yesterday's report, which is based on Russian Defense Ministry, and according to this news, Kyiv regime, since the incursion into Kursk region, lost more than 2,000 military personnel, at least 35 tanks, 31 armored personnel carriers, 18 infantry fighting vehicles. Majority of these personnel carriers and infantry fighting vehicles are NATO equipment, Western-made military equipment. Also, Russian troops destroy 179 other types of armored vehicles, mainly carriers like Max Pro, for example, and also 78 motor vehicles, 4 air defense systems, 2 launchers of the 2 MLRS systems, multi-launch rocket systems, and 14 field artillery systems. This is information for 13th of August, and today these numbers most likely are significantly higher. Later on, Defense Ministry probably will update information on the situation on the Kursk region, and of course I will share additional information on my Telegram and in the next updates. We also have information from, and in this case RIA Novosti is reporting that more and more troops of Kyiv regime are surrendering in the Kursk region, which is true, and there are videos, by the way, on internet. I also share at least 1 or 2 videos when Kyiv regime's troops are surrendering in Kursk region, and as time goes by, of course, desperation will settle in to this invading force of Kyiv regime more and more, and we should expect possibly we should expect surrenders from Kyiv regime's side on the level of entire platoons or maybe even companies. Let's see, and they are lucky, by the way. They are lucky that they've been taken prisoner, because after all, few days ago, Russia imposed the counter-terrorism regime into Kursk region and few other regions, Belgorod and Bryansk regions, I believe. So these invading forces of the Kyiv regime could well be treated as a terrorist, and some may argue that they should be treated as a terrorists. And of course, Geneva Convention is not working, not applied on terrorists, right? So yet again, these invading troops of Kyiv regime are lucky that they've been taken prisoner. RIA Novosti is also reporting that Russian air defense systems shut down 117 drones and 4 .U tactical missiles that were launched by Kyiv regime to strike deep inside Russian territory overnight. And to give you more precise information, 37 drones and 4 .U missiles were intercepted in Kursk region. Also 37 drones were intercepted over the Voronezh region, 17 drones over the Belgorod region. Over the Nizhgorod was intercepted 11 drones, over the Volgograd region 9 drones, over the Bryansk region 3 drones, 2 drones were intercepted over the Oryol region, and also 1 drone over the Rostov region, region. As you can see, quite a large geography of the strikes of the Kyiv regime. At this point, there is no reports, detailed information about possible casualties on the ground as a result of these large-scale drone strikes on Russia. And there is no information about more or less significant damage. If any update on that, of course, I will share additional information on Telegram. Vzglyad newspaper is also reporting that, well, Pentagon continues to play this game of plausible deniability, and the press secretary of the Pentagon, Patrick Ryder, when asked about US position in terms of Kursk invasion, he said that, well, US is still trying to gain some information from Kyiv regime about their intentions in regards to Kursk invasion. I don't really understand how anybody can take seriously any representative of the Biden's administration or the collective West, by the way, at this point, with very few exceptions. I mean, leadership of Hungary, leadership of Slovakia, some politicians, some public figures in the other NATO member states definitely can be seen as voices of reason, but other than that, I mean, vast majority of these politicians or officials are total scam, and how can anybody take them seriously? I don't understand. They are lying non-stop. They are lying non-stop, and in this particular case, this individual, Patrick Ryder, is trying to push this narrative that US was not aware of the plans of Kyiv regime about this Kursk invasion, and they still are trying to understand what is happening by highlighting that US was not involved, when in reality, of course, US was involved, by the way, of course, and a number of Russian high-ranking officials already stated that this incursion operation into Kursk region was planned with active participation of the NATO militaries. US commanding officers, UK British commanding officers, and most likely German commanding officers at least. And I'm saying this because if you remember, the so-called Ukrainian counteroffensive of 2023 was planned by US militaries mainly and British militaries, and military games were even conducted in Germany on command and control of that operation. So Germany was also involved, and we all know how that 2023 counteroffensive of Kyiv regime performed, isn't it? Russian side decimated dozens of brigades of Kyiv regime, and during that so-called counteroffensive, according to different reports, Kyiv regime lost from 90 to 150,000 military personnel. And the very same, on a smaller scale, of course, but very same will happen in the Kursk region, and Russian troops will, of course, decimate invading forces of the NATO and the Kyiv regime. There can be no doubts about it. And RT is reporting that, well, EU fully supports Ukrainian attack on Kursk. This was said by so-called diplomat, top diplomat of the EU, Joseph Borrell, and, well, this statement definitely confirms what I just said, isn't it? That, of course, Kyiv regime's incursion into Kursk region was planned by the West, and, of course, West is directly involved in all this terrorist attack on Russia. There can be no doubts on that. So Kyiv has the full support of the European Union in its incursion into Russia's Kursk region. The bloc's top diplomat, Joseph Borrell, has said in his first comment addressing the Ukrainian cross-border incursion. Okay, am I surprised? No. And no one probably in our community are surprised to hear that. Although, by the way, Borrell is clearly lying. Not entire EU is in full support of terrorist activity of the Kyiv regime. We know at least two countries that are definitely not in support of these crimes, namely Hungary and Slovakia. At least those two countries definitely are not in favor of the terrorist attacks on Russia. The Vzгляд newspaper is also reporting about Russian advances on the northern part of northern flank of Chisov Yar. I already spoke about it. RIA Novosti is reporting that emergency situation is declared in Belgorod region of the Russian Federation due to constant terrorist attacks of Kyiv regime and shellings of the region. TASS news agency is reporting that Latvia prepared about 500 drones to send to Kyiv regime. Okay, Latvia. We will remember that. RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian side once again allowed experts from IAEA to enter the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant area where that fire broke up recently, just a few days ago, as a result of Kyiv regime's terrorist attack. I already spoke about it, and we will see what statements this expert will say. But if I don't even want to talk about no more, man. How anybody could believe that nonsense generated by Kyiv regime and the West, that and Western propaganda, that Russian side set tires on fire there? I mean, I don't know what is happening with this world, man. So IAEA experts second time entered that place, and I expect some strong statements to be made, or I should say differently. If IAEA was a really independent body of the UN, then strong statements would be made in regards of this Ukrainian terrorist attack on nuclear power station. But because IAEA in reality is a Western-controlled organization, they will condemn attack, but they will not even say which side attacked nuclear power plant. That's what they do always. Rafael Grossi, head of IAEA, never ever pointed out at Kyiv regime for constant strikes on Energodar city or Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. I mean, so what we are talking about. The Novosti is also reporting that ambassador of Moldova was summoned by Russian Foreign Ministry yesterday due to reports that Moldova is considering to allow Kyiv regime to station its F-16s into Moldova, and of course this is a next level of escalation with Moscow if Moldova is planning to do so. And I guess ambassador of Moldova received strong warnings from Russia that if US made F-16s will start operate or will be based in Moldova, then Russia will take action. Let's see. It's almost 2 weeks now, isn't it, since information broke up that F-16s being delivered to Kyiv regime. I wonder where those F-16s are. Once they will start really operate, I expect in very first day or on very first few days after active operations of F-16s, those at least some of those planes to be intercepted. Kommersant newspaper is reporting about strong statements of former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev. While commenting Ukrainian incursion into Kursk region, he said that invading force will face severe consequences for this attack on Russia, including Kyiv regime itself. Okay, let's see. Many experts are expecting stronger retaliatory strikes from Russia, but it's a second week now since the beginning of this invasion into Kursk region, and we did not see even a strike on military or logistical infrastructure of the Kyiv regime. Large-scale, long-range strikes yet, but maybe something is in works, and we will see large-scale counter strikes from Russian side in upcoming days. It is definitely a possibility. Vzгляд newspaper is also reporting that deputy of the Russian permanent representative in UN, Dmitry Polyansky, while commenting on the Ukrainian incursion into Kursk region, stated that capitulation of a Kyiv regime is inevitable, and by making this statement, of course, it is becoming obvious that Moscow is no longer considering any talks with the Kyiv regime. Only capitulation, as I said earlier. Most likely only unconditional surrender of the Kyiv regime will be acceptable for Russia. And dear friends, before I continue, let me notice, if I may, that this small media project of mine with several channels on YouTube, Rumble, and Telegram is completely subscriber funded, and I will be immensely grateful if you will also consider to support my work and this project with a small donation through PayPal or Boosty platforms. This is Boosty platform, or by subscribing to my Patreon page, where I have quite a number of additional content, and I'm planning to increase extra content on Patreon and also Boosty. Monthly subscription on Patreon starts from $5. And of course, many thanks to all the members of our community who supported my work and continues to support. Thank you very much. All the links, dear friends, to PayPal, Boosty, Patreon are under this video description box and in the pinned comment. And let's continue now. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that Israel has warned the US and a number of EU member states about intentions of Israel to conduct direct strikes on Iran if Tehran will retaliate for killing of Hamas leader with direct strikes on Israel. So talks are, strong statements are made on daily basis, but at least for now we did not see retaliatory strikes from Iran or from Hezbollah. I remind you that Israel also assassinated the top commander of the Hezbollah in Beirut, capital of Lebanon. Although anything is possible, and Israel is clearly not just not backing down, but it's threatening, further escalating by threatening Iran with their direct strikes if Tehran will retaliate for a recent assassination of Hamas political leader. Let's see how will situation develop. At this point, it is really difficult to predict anything in regards to Iran or Hezbollah, Israel escalation. RT is reporting that third rating agency downgraded Israel's rating. Fitch Ratings downgraded Israel's long-term credit rating on Tuesday, citing the impact of the war in Gaza. Moody's and S&P Global also cut their credit ratings for the Jewish state earlier this year, citing elevated geopolitical risks. Yes, that's consequences of the actions of the Netanyahu and his government. Israel is in difficult situation for sure because of the policies of the leadership of that country. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that Germany issued an order for arrest of Ukraine citizen for destruction of the Nord Stream pipelines. Okay, Germany. So yes, prosecutor's office issued the order to arrest someone under the name of Vladimir C. or Vladimir C. Only first name is known of that person. He's an instructor on deep diving, and he was living in Poland and already ran away somewhere. But yet again, what Germany is doing, by the way, what is going on in Germany? They are not saying nothing about US involvement in this attack on Nord Stream pipelines, direct attack on Germany and Germany's national interests. Berlin is saying nothing, not just about Washington's involvement, but also about Oslo's involvement, because Norway, according to, if you remember, according to award-winning journalist, American journalist Seymour Hersh, this attack was conducted by US, but Norway also participated in this. And I reminded your friend that Norway is the main, together with US, are main beneficiaries of this terrorist attack on Nord Stream pipelines because they are making huger volumes of money by selling their gas to European states now. And while Berlin is saying nothing about the involvement of Washington and Oslo, they are issuing arrest warrant for some Vladimir Tsev, whoever that criminal is. Strange, man. Western ruling class still trying to push this crazy narrative that US has nothing to do with this terrorist attack. It would not work, and world is laughing, for God's sake. World is just laughing at the impotence of the European states, especially Germany's leadership, by the way. I mean, it's a sad story, man. Modern Germany is just a sad story. Interfax is reporting that despite this escalation in the Kursk region, well, gas flow, Russian gas flow through Ukraine is not stopping, even increasing, and the Suja station, which is directly involved in transit of gas, and which is located in the Kursk region that is occupied by Kyiv regime forces for now, is through this Suja station, some 42.4 million cubic meters of the gas were pumped into Europe for 14th of August. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting that despite this escalation, military operations, gas is still flowing to Europe. Not everybody is happy about it here in Russia, I can tell you. And many people are asking questions why Russia is still selling anything to hostile states, but well, it is what it is. And I will end this update on this news that many companies here in Russia are still experiencing some difficulties while operating with their partners in China and Turkey. And this is, of course, due to Western sanctions on Russia's banking system, and also Western threats towards Turkey, towards China, towards everybody, basically, that is doing business with Russia. And this information is once again highlights how important it is to alternative financial and banking system to be created in this world, alternative to the Western one that is extremely weaponized by Western ruling class. And as I said many times before, I really hope during the Kazan BRICS summit that will take place here in Russia in autumn, in October, I believe, hopefully we will receive some good information about concrete steps that was taken by BRICS member states to create this alternative financial and banking system, because it's necessary not just for BRICS member states to do business properly, but it is important for the entire world, by the way, because everybody is sick and tired of the dominance of the Western ruling class and the Western independence, and everybody is tired for dependence of the Western, this weaponized financial and the banking system. Let's see, work is definitely done in this direction. I report quite regularly on that, and well, let's hope after Kazan, during the Kazan BRICS summit, we will receive information about some really big steps that are planned or maybe even done in this area. And this is it for now. Relatively short update. Hopefully you will find it interesting, informative, and useful. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, any topic. This is the only way we can deal with the algorithm to at least try and reach a wider community. And for the same reason, if you can, please share information about my channel with your friends in a real life or on internet or on the platforms that you are actively using. And finally, if you like my work, if you want to support, you can do it through several means: PayPal, boosting, crypto, if you are good with it, with crypto, and of course you can subscribe to my Patreon page. All the links under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. I welcome everybody, by the way, on Patreon. It is a bit disappointing that we will not reach 200. Our community will not reach 200 before end of this summer, but well, I'm gonna continue as much as I can to create more and more extra content on Patreon, and hopefully more people will join. Anyways, this is it for now. Have a great day and take care.